Hello and welcome to the latest, episode, I don't know, of the Built Environment Marketing Show here on LinkedIn. And I am your host, Abbas. And again, if you are joining me live, please say something in the comments, either where you're calling from, not calling for, watching from even, or I don't know what you're having for lunch even. I'd be quite interested. And today, it's day 2 of my LinkedIn Live podcast interviews, and we are looking at work winning. Oops, I've just realised I got the wrong title at the top. Work winning and networking. So ignore the title at the top. I'll change that. And as the market gets tougher, what are some of the ways that you can be in a better position to win work? So today, my special LinkedIn Live guest is with the lovely Leonie Thomas, who I've known for quite a few years. Mainly from LinkedIn and stuff like that, haven't I?
Yeah. I was thinking before, where did we meet? I can't remember. I think it might have been Twitter,
Yeah, probably it was social channels, wasn't it? Because you're up north.
Definitely.
I'm not.
No.
But we always started chatting and stuff like that. So yeah, see, social does work. And today we are kind of having a bit of a kind of tactical, I'm going to call it a BD and work winning deep dive into putting your best business foot forward to win work, which I think is going to be more and more important as we go forward. So Leonie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. My name is Leonie Thomas, and I am a bid consultant. I've been working really for about 20 years in the work winning sector, specifically around infrastructure and construction. So it's something I'm really passionate about, helping people to win contracts, helping them to do that efficiently. And I've been through many many journeys, many evolutions.
Iterations.
It is, different iterations of myself and how we do it. And I've seen the process develop a lot as well. So, happy to talk about all that today with you.
Fantastic. And you've just set up your own, a slightly different entity for yourself, haven't you? Or I saw one on LinkedIn, obviously. I've not spoken to you about it.
Well, I don't know specifically which one you mean, because I do a couple of different things, but
I was talking about the consulting practice you've set up, which you said MD, and I saw that in September.
Yeah, one of the things I really want to help with is helping smaller organisations within the industry to pitch efficiently for work, to help them to win those contracts. It's really important. It is a game, and if you don't know the rules of the game, then you're going to struggle to do it. And I know that I can help people to do that effectively.
So I love that. Navigate the rules of the game. Nice.
Yeah, it is a game. Would you agree?
I do, and also it's an ever evolving game.
It is. It is evolving.
The barrier from like 5 years to now is different, right? And I think
very
different. Always progressing. And it's like, I don't really do that many bids, like we said before. I don't do that many bids anymore. But when I used to, you could see how things were progressing every year. Everyone was getting more up to speed, and the goalposts move. And I think that's the thing about bidding and work winning. As more people clock on to what they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Thank you. So we've got Stacey from sunny Stockwell, or not so sunny Stockwell, which is down the road from me. So yeah, I know it's not sunny. Katrina, hello. It's not sunny in Hampshire either. Barry Reed, who's in Scotland.
Oh,
that's brilliant. I know. So all over the country. I kind of like that. Right. Okay. So first question for you. So what can practices implement in terms of work winning to position themselves to win more in the future?
I think,
or not even in the future, actually, to win more now.
Well, just to win more, I think there's a couple of things. I think the first thing is a sort of shift in mindset from reacting to bid opportunities as they come in. They should be more considered, and they should be responded to rather than reacted to as they come in. So that's one of the first things I would say. And then I also think there is a longer term piece around developing relationships and understanding who it is that you want to work with and for, and developing relationships with those people. I think the relationship piece is really, really key. And actually it will define whether a bid is successful or not. Yeah. And then secondly or thirdly, I think there's a lot around collateral to develop so that you're bid ready when an opportunity comes in. So have you got all that information that you need to be able to put a pitch together efficiently, or is there work to be done there? And that can be case studies, it can be CVs, it can be the sort of stuff that, you know, you and I might write or work on together. But it's also the organizational stuff like accounts, insurances, policy documents. Are they to hand, or do they need to be developed, or do you need to get the right sort of things in place? All of that needs to be considered before you even think about responding to a bid.
It's actually getting your house in order, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually, I would say it's the most important part of the job. Like responding to a bid or doing a bid, that's really, it's like the icing on the cake or the cherry on the cake, whatever you want to say. But it's very much the last part of the process. The more important work happens far further upstream. It's understanding what your kind of sector goals look like, what your business plan looks like, how bids fit into that, and then being very, very strategic about the people that you meet, who you speak with, how you're influencing the market in terms of maybe award submissions or PR, or a lot of the stuff that you do with clients, and how you can marry those up so that when the bid actually comes out, you're going to be successful at it because you've done the work.
And you've got the visibility for doing that work
Absolutely,
as well.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot how it marries together, is that visibility of, oh, you're really known for this. How are you supporting that in terms of your marketing, and then how that influences your bid and how you take that through. But I think I was interested in your first point where you spoke about whether or not you're responding to a bid or reacting to a bid.
Yeah, I think there's a difference. I've seen, I suppose in my career, I've seen a lot of reacting to bids. So you will find something that's come through on Ojo or on one of the portals, or, some other opportunity.
Random, where everybody sees it.
Yeah. And, it might tick a couple of boxes in terms of maybe value, or it's the right client, or it's the right location, or right kind of work, or whatever. But you've not planned to bid for that, and you've not actually planned for that in your pipeline of work, or, where you thought work was going to come from. To me, that's reacting to an opportunity rather than responding. So responding is something that's far more considered. You've been tracking it for a while. You know the right people. You've got the right relationships. You've got absolutely the right credentials, as we'd say, the right sort of experience, the right sort of team with the right skills, and all of that. So it's a lot more considered, and you've taken your time, you've done the planning ahead of time. Those bids are far more successful.
Yeah, I mean for me, one of the most kind of successful, bids and kind of capture and all of that kind of stuff, the front end, looking at where you want to be. I remember sitting in a meeting with a client, not a client actually, when I was working in-house, and we had a meeting where we had like, these are the top 10 projects we want to win in the next 5 years. And I mean, they were massive projects, but it meant that the marketing plan that I was doing had to align to those clients and what they needed, even though those bids would be longer term. But it's understanding how those clients, what's driving them, what they're talking about, and those are the types of campaigns you start developing. And it's having them in the back of your mind and having that list and actually going, this is where we're heading to. And it's like, I guess it's your north light, that's your guiding light that you follow. So yeah, that does completely make sense in terms of actually doing that front end work to really understand who the clients are, what the projects are.
It drives consistency, doesn't it, between yourself, business development people, whoever's responsible for that, and then people like me who are actually responding to the actual bid documents when they come to market. It just makes sure everyone's consistent and on the same page, and we're saying the right things, and you've done the right things to support the right things that I'm going to do in the bid. It just makes sense, doesn't it? I don't think we think enough like that.
I guess is it easier for smaller companies to do? Because I've done it in massive companies, admittedly. So I don't know, like for smaller companies, can they do that on a smaller scale? Sorry, I'm slightly going off my question.
I don't know. Let's ask the audience if there's any smaller organisations and how they might coordinate that work. I think that'd be interesting to know.
If there is, let me know, because I am interested in that, because it's one of those where I'm like, I'm not sure. Okay, so I was going to say, what other tactics can companies employ to be better prepared for more opportunities when they land? So is that more about what you said about having your house in order in terms of your case studies and all of that kind of information? Is there anything else you could do in terms of maybe skills for your staff or? anything like that?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. I think one, having a clear process, like how does bidding look to your business? Who does what as well? What's the roles and responsibilities around it?
Yeah.
I think I can't emphasize enough how getting the right content together before you do it is really important. It'll save you a whole lot of time, because we're often creating bid content, aren't we, as we're bidding something, which actually accounts for all the time. You know, it's not anything else that you're doing. It's writing the words that meets the criteria. So there's that, and having the right relationships in place, and having a commitment to it. I was talking to someone a few weeks ago about, I think, the importance of mindset around bidding and work winning, because it is such a demanding environment, isn't it? So how do you get your team, whoever's involved in bids, to focus and be committed to winning, rather than thinking, this is awful, I feel victimized? How can we get teams to think differently about it?
Is there any answers?
I think firstly, it's
where's the magic sauce? This is it.
Well, I think firstly, it's acknowledging that it is possible. I know that, I think I probably discussed it with you, but I've obviously studied mindset in quite some detail over the last 5 years or so.
Yeah.
And then applied that to bidding. I mean, obviously the sort of stuff I work on now tends to be the really big infrastructure projects that, it's very pressurized, isn't it? But all of that work is pressurized because you're all on a deadline. But I realized that when I started to apply mindset to that sort of scenario, it totally changed how I felt about it. Like, I felt energized rather than depleted. I really enjoyed it. The quality of my work really changed. The amount of time it took me to do stuff really changed, like it reduced. And I just find that really interesting. And it's something that I think we should explore more as a bid discipline, actually.
It's really interesting. It's definitely
one
for the
interesting.
APMP. But I'd say, so what kind of things did you change in your mindset personally? Sorry, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah.
What's your shift? Was it around looking at, or how you viewed bidding?
Yeah, a whole loads of things, really. Firstly, it was choosing to enjoy a very difficult experience, because it can be very demanding. So you choose to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And choose to enjoy, stretching your skills or learning something new or whatever.
Be more curious and things like that.
Yeah,
Actually,
being more curious and
yeah,
exactly. And kind of being committed to the subject matter. So, I mean, I deal with a lot of construction, engineering, all of that sort of stuff. You've got to have a passion for it, I think.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I love it as well. And it's a choice, isn't it? We've chosen to love it. So, I mean, I always say to other bid people, like, it's not really an industry to go into if you don't think you'll enjoy that, or you can't really get into it. So it's choosing to really love the subject matter. It was also choosing to see time in a different way and be more, I won't use the word strict, but something about just being structured about the use of time. So, figuring out in the week when the best times were for doing that very, very deep writing work. For me, it's getting to my desk very early in the morning, but that wouldn't work for everybody. So it's just working out for yourself when it works for you. And then deciding, making a commitment to yourself, right, I'm going to finish at 5 o'clock and then I'm going to make my dinner or whatever it is I'm going to do. And then I don't do any more work then for the evening. So I'm not doing massive days like I used to do. But it's also being committed to not being distracted by your phone and all of that sort of stuff, and encouraging people you work with to put time in the diary rather than ring up, unscheduled, because that can be a very big distraction as well. So it's just becoming aware of all this stuff, and I just started to enjoy my work a lot more.
And then that shows in your work, basically, right? And all the things you're delivering. So yeah, that does make sense.
Awesome. Yeah, in a nice way though, like not in a, I don't know. I'm at a stage at the moment where I kind of it happens very easily, not in such an easy way that you become complacent, not at all, but there's no struggle with it. You can just deliver excellence in a really straightforward, enjoyable way.
Means you're rocking. Well done.
It's taken a long time though. Do you know what I mean?
It does.
Like I said to you at the start, like I've been through many iterations in this career, many, and I'm kind of at a place now where I really love it and I'm really sort of passionate about it.
Yeah. But you found your sweet spot and the things that work, right? And that but
it's taken 20 years.
Yes, I'm the same. Don't worry about it. People are like, oh, how do you write all this stuff for LinkedIn or know all this stuff? And it's like, I've done this a long time.
A long time. Yeah, a long time.
But you do, and you learn as you go, and you pick up skills as you go. And there's a reason that, you know, I can sit there and write a post in a short period of time, or go, that's the opportunity, that's the media angle. It's like I started off in PR, and it's like, and you build up all these different experiences and sector knowledge that you take with you. And I think you're right. And then you understand what works and what doesn't work for different audiences, and you build up that kind of DNA, don't you, when you start to understand. So yeah, definitely. And moving on to proposals and winning ones, any tips on what to draw out in proposals to make them, I guess, win?
Well, it's a very simplistic response to that question, but I'd just say answer what you've been asked. I mean, I review and I edit a lot of stuff, and it's interesting how much responses often can deviate from the original question. I guess the answer to that is, like, you need to be disciplined and just have a clear idea, you know, where you're going with that response. I kind of laugh about it really, because my skills in many ways, I sort of learned them when I was doing my A-levels at school, and in some ways I've not really ever needed any more than that. But you know, I remember my history teacher at A-level sort of teaching us how to write an essay, and you'd start with the intro and sort of where you wanted to take it. And I just really follow the same sort of format now. And I stick to the question. But you want to really be demonstrating to your client why you're the right fit, why you're not even the right fit, you're the perfect fit. You know, they couldn't deliver this job without you, and they shouldn't even think of trying. You know, you need to make that compelling argument, and we do that by, you know, linking those key strengths up, or you know, kind of buying into their aspirations or whatever, and sort of telling them how you're going to help them to deliver it, whether it's building or design or engineering, whatever discipline it is. I can help you do that, and this is how I'm going to do it. And even better, this is where I did it before. And even
the
better
evidence
than that,
part.
Even better than that, here's the actual people who did that before, and look what an amazing job they did. So
that's what you do.
Yeah, it's just it's building that compelling argument, isn't it?
Yeah. And you build on it. I like the way the building of it. You're right. You build it into that story, don't you? And that narrative. And then at the end, you just kind of summarize it again, isn't it? And then there you go. And that's your answer. But I think the other thing I always found really useful doing proposals was actually, when you're kind of writing your answer, always have like the marking criteria nearby, because then you kind of understand. I always do a sense check with that to make sure, have I covered off the kind of key areas and checking points that they have, even as I'm writing, because I always find that makes me go, okay, I think I've missed those bits out. Is that really relevant? And you can also use that as a sense check. So that's something I always do as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways to use the marking criteria. I know people, for example, that use that, like, if it's a point or 4 points, they want to make 4 different points in their response.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if I'm ever that complex.
No.
I'll just say what needs to be said. But that isn't to say that other approach isn't valid. Like, it probably it is. It is. It's just I wouldn't do that. I just maybe focus on what I need to say. But yeah, definitely always look at the marking criteria, because it'll give you an idea of what the client thinks important here, what's important to them.
Okay, Mike Reader's just said ATFQ. I have no idea what that means. What does that mean? Unless it's a swear word.
Yeah. Mike's entirely right.
What
it
mean?
It means answer the question.
Oh, basically. Sorry. It is a swear word. That's me coming. I don't know what that is. Cheers, Mike.
Trust him.
I know. I just got it. But yeah, I did. Now, okay. Anyway, let's move on. That caught me out, that one. Okay, so in terms of aside from proposals, you are also a super connector and a kind of really good networker. And you taught me a lot as well when I was starting out. So any tips on kind of getting started in terms of networking online? Let's start there, and then we'll move to face. I know you do both.
So this is really interesting, actually, because it's a concept and a way of sort of working that I wish I had understood better earlier in my career. And the reason I say that is because the more people you know, the more opportunities that will come your way, because people just know you. And one way of kind of creating those opportunities is by creating some sort of niche for yourself as well. So my niche, for example, is like, I'm a bid consultant, I'm a bid writer, I work in construction and infrastructure. There's not many of me around. So it keeps me front of mind with people, if they have an opportunity. So it's a great thing to do. But it's really interesting. A couple of years before, actually, this is how you and I met. A couple of years before lockdown, I would just approach people, interesting people on LinkedIn and Twitter, and say, would you like to have a digital coffee? That's what I was calling it, an
actually,
online brew.
That's correct.
And that was how you and I, that's how you and I met. So actually, this illustrates the point, doesn't it? I would recommend, if there's somebody interesting that you see online, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok's my favorite thing currently, whatever the medium is, it doesn't matter. But approach them. Some people might ignore you. That's absolutely fine. But, just approach them to get half an hour in their diary and have a chat about what it is that they do, and, what their goals are, and, how the pair of you might be able to work together. Are there contacts you could share? Are there introductions you could make for each other? Are there ways to keep in touch? It's, super, super useful. And I don't think we use it enough.
No, and actually, I mean, over lockdown, that really did come into the fore, or virtual coffees, as I was calling them afterwards. But you're right. And it was a great way to connect with people because everyone was at home, everyone was open. And you're right to build those relationships online and start conversations. Because I think there is, there's one thing having a face on social media, i.e., visibility, but actually the real business is done offline, isn't it? It's done a kind of one-to-one conversations, which can be virtual conversations, but more on that. I think that's when you have the real in-depth conversations, and more done in that way. Definitely. So actually, TikTok. You just said TikTok there. What are you seeing on TikTok? What are you doing?
I just adore it. I find it so educational. I only ever see wholesome content in my feed, though, so that must mean I'm a wholesome person. I never see anything mean or nasty ever.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe that I just find it educational, and it's like little mini windows on the world. Like you can look at all sorts of people doing all sorts of things all over the world, and I just find it fascinating. I prefer it to TV.
I prefer podcast to TV, so I like this.
Well, I love podcasts as well, of course.
Mine especially. So are you seeing any kind of construction firms on there? There's starting to be a few, but not that many yet. Are you seeing many?
No, not enough. I tell you what I do look at a lot. Things like interior design. It's amazing for especially residential construction and interior design. It's awesome for that. And I read somewhere that actually next year it's going to be like the second largest search engine in the world.
I think it's TikTok. I think it may have already. I think it's
already.
I think it's happened this month.
See, like that. I think it's just incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. It's not just a social media channel now. People are using it for search.
No,
and I think once it starts doing that, it's
absolutely, it's just awesome. And I just learned so much stuff and just have a look at so much stuff. So yeah, TikTok. It's not just for kids, I
was going to say, I tend to just post videos of my son walking around developments. That's what we do for fun. Anyway, so any advice in terms of, because I know you also do you run a face-to-face, in person.
Yeah, I've got a couple of networking teams. Yeah, I mean, that's been a big pivot, if you like, or a big iteration over the last couple of years. Yeah. And actually, I wouldn't be able to do that had I not shifted my mindset around bidding and time and all of that sort of stuff. The two things are definitely connected. But yeah, networking, I think if you're in construction or the industries that we work in, my advice would be to find a more specific event to go to. I mean, I run kind of more generalist networking teams where what I do is really quite niche compared to what they do, but it's always handy to know a copywriter that specializes in that, or a solicitor who's local, or accountants, you know, that sort of thing. So it's great for knowing your local community rather than specifically finding work. It's also an amazing way to sort of develop some skills as well. Great personal development opportunity.
I was going to say, because you're connecting people, I was going to say, are there any tips for anyone who wants to get started in terms of more face-to-face networking? If you want to get going and go, actually, there's something I need to do more of.
So I would say everyone should do it. Like, you don't have to do it every week, but kind of make a goal of saying, right, I'm going to go to an event once a month. And then try and expand your network by one person every week. Because being able to draw on that network at all kinds of random times is actually very, very valuable, and you'll never know when you might need it.
Yeah, I think one of the tips I had as well from a coach, I think at one point was, I mean, I don't always love face-to-face networking. Like, you always kind of sit there and go, do I really want to do this? But what I do is like, so sometimes if I don't really want to be somewhere, then I sort of give myself a goal of just go in and say hi to 3 people. And that's my target. It doesn't have to be anything major. Do you know what I mean? Because there are days when I'm like, I'd rather be at home behind my laptop because it's easier. So yeah, that's one of the kind of things I end up doing. But yeah, any more tips around how to not?
Well, firstly, I'd say there's loads of online networking opportunities. So if you're not an extrovert, and I think that's what the difference is, it's introverts and extroverts. If you're more of an introvert, then there's loads of online stuff. But if you're not an extrovert or you want to try face-to-face networking, just go along and be yourself. And make the effort to sort of speak to people. I guess it's really easy to sort of stand by the drinks, isn't it, and try and disappear if you're not feeling that.
Or the food.
All the food.
I love doing.
if you're not feeling that confident, but I guess what I would do is find an event that's going to teach you something. At the very least, go with the intention of maybe learning something and making a couple of contacts. So then your time's not completely wasted, is it? And you've got a kind of desire to sort of be there and pay attention to what's going on. You don't necessarily need printed business cards anymore. There is an app called Blink, BLINQ, where you can put an like a digital business card in, so you can share your details like that. So all of this sort of stuff, and just go with a good attitude.
Yeah, the mindset.
But go to something that is going to interest you. You want to go and learn something or meet some relevant people. Like just do that, and don't be scared.
I'd say last week my networking thing was to go to a talk about Crossrail, which was brilliant, by the way. I'm
so envious.
It's brilliant.
That sounds amazing.
It was at the Royal Society of Engineering, so it was a beautiful place to be anyway.
Oh no,
and
that
they
sounds
kind of
amazing.
did this talk. It was. I'll send you the link afterwards. Actually, there's a link to it. But yeah, that was fascinating. He talked about leadership and kind of all the kind of leadership lessons learned from, all the change and the things that kind of didn't go to plan and all that kind of stuff. So really fascinating.
No, that sounds like yeah, exactly. So go to something like that because it will interest you.
Yeah, exactly. Because I could sit there like a geek, and then afterwards, when I do write on social media, it's like under their post, it's like, "Hi, I was there." So it's true. Next question is, so what should you do in terms of follow up? So I've been to that, Crossrail talk last week, which I did. What should I be doing in terms of follow up when I get home?
It's interesting, actually. A follow up or taking action is the bit that people often don't do. So you get the card, or you make that introduction, or you have a chat or whatever. Get the details off them, connect with them, and follow up with a note or a message. If you connected in the room, that could be just like your one digital coffee for this week, couldn't it? Yeah. Or if they're more local, then you could maybe go and meet them for a coffee or a brew. People are time pressed though, aren't they, these days? So, but
it's a bit different.
Yeah, it might not be that you end up in a conversation, but really where you want to get to is understanding what it is they want and how you can help them. What are their goals? How can you help them? And then they will naturally ask the other way. So you're not giving to get. That's not the point at all. But you're having a conversation with the point of understanding what it is the other person wants, and how you can help them to achieve that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because, like, I mean, the fact we just talked about that crossfire thing. Now I'll send you a link after this call. But, you know, like, it's things like that, isn't it? Or you think, oh, I saw that, they might be interested in something. I always think sometimes you read something after you've met somebody, or you think, oh, that's a piece of information I can share. It's that kind of, you're there, you're not expecting anything from them, but it's that kind of thing as well, isn't it?
But do it all the time, because it's a great way of staying in touch and staying front of mind without actually wanting something or expecting something. Yeah, it's just a really simple way of sharing information, being valuable, being useful to your own network, and kind of looking after your network as well.
Awesome. So, okay, my last question on this bit is actually, so how much networking should I be doing? I don't know, that's a bit of a how long's a piece of string.
Well, I think it's different for everybody. I think extroverts have got more of an appetite for it. Introverts, I think we need to manage our energy a little bit more, so we probably want to do a little bit less. Do as much as what feels right and comfortable to you. Target the right sorts of events. Never discount somebody because you think they're not going to be useful to you. That's totally the wrong thing to be doing.
And can be exceptionally rude when people do that.
Yeah, but it happens. It happens a lot.
It does happen. And they go, oh, you work in marketing, and they just walk off, and you're like,
I know.
It's quite rude.
Well, just make sure that you're not doing that to other people. You know, be interested in what other people are doing. And I, you know what, if you set a goal of meeting one new person every single week for a year, you know, it's 52 new people, isn't it, that you've met?
Yeah.
So, you know, that's expanding your network by quite a bit. And then how many people do they know, and how many people do they know? You know, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, doesn't it, your network?
Yeah. Absolutely. No, that is a good point, and a good way. Like you say, the mindset. I guess you're breaking it down into those little goals. Meeting one person a week is not huge. It doesn't seem like a big goal, does it? But it actually, when you magnify it and look at it overall, it does build. Yeah.
It doesn't. But if you're maybe more of an introvert, or, you know, if I think about where I was at the start of my networking journey, the mindset shift I've had to go through about carving out more time and being able to approach people and setting the time out to have those meetings and all of that sort of stuff, and being sort of committed to that, really, and understanding what I'm doing it for. You know, that journey's been significant, more than just meeting one person every week for a chat.
That's so true. All right, so my final question in this kind of episode is,
go on then.
So a quick fire round. So you've already talked about
word.
No, it's not quick fire. Don't worry. You just it was in the brief. You should have the answers. So it was a question about tools and resources. I know you already talked about Blink, which is the business card tool, which you talked about with the
Blink,
Are there any other kind of tools or resources that people could use that's low cost or free that would really help them in terms of either bidding or networking?
So I am a big fan of Office 365. You know, I just think it works for what we need it to do. And I've been using the online, like the browser version for the calendar, and sort of fixing it so that I can have tasks and put them directly into my diary, so I know exactly what I should be doing every day, and everything's done. And I am loving that right now. It's just so kind of organized and efficient. It's also amazing for collaborating with people, you know, in the same documents. So yeah, it is a bit of a shout out for Microsoft, I guess, but I do love it. No, I do love it. It's just so efficient, it just works. WhatsApp, I do adore WhatsApp. I might not read all the messages.
Do you use it for work?
Yeah, like little teams for bid teams and all that, groups of bid teams, all of that sort of stuff. Yeah.
See. Because I personally just use that for personal, but that's because
Oh, okay.
It's only because I've got so many channels that people talk to me on that, you know, like some of them you're like, oh, some.
Yeah, no, I do understand that. I mean, I always say to people as well, like, email me by all means, but if you want me to sort of see something or respond, WhatsApp me. That's the most effective way of getting hold of me. Because I feel tyrannized really by email.
Do you? Because there's so many of them.
I do. Yeah, too many. And then not only am I expected to read them, but I need to action something as well. It's too much.
And you also need to probably scroll through a ton of them to find the actual action. So that's it. So it's always like, where is it? What am I meant to do? Was it someone else?
Yeah, so actually, that's been one of the big sort of friction points around carving time out in the day, structuring my day, and then getting emails done.
Yeah,
because actually delivering the work is far more important. But then obviously you can miss stuff if you're not on top of your emails.
Yeah. It's that balance,
so I am looking for what the solution there is, because there will be one.
I don't know what it is, but if someone can tell us, that would be great. Thank you. Anyway, thank you so much for being an awesome guest, Leonie. And where can people find out more about you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. Start on LinkedIn. That's a good place to start.
She's like, I'm there once a week.
Well, no, just to put everybody in the picture. Like, I have had COVID over the last couple of months, and it's honestly, it's been quite brutalizing in a way.
Yeah.
So I have had a bit of a digital detox, not really through choice, but yeah, LinkedIn is a good place to start.
I was only teasing.
Pardon?
I was only teasing, I promise. Anyway, thank you so much for being an awesome guest. And I'll put links in the show notes so that people can find your LinkedIn and find out more about you and the fantastic stuff that you do. And tomorrow, I'm going to be live at 12:30 again. This time, I'm going to be talking to Stacey Meadwell about LinkedIn and getting that fired up and getting yourself out there and visible. So yeah, thank you so much, Leonie. Take care. Bye.
Bye.